from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:03. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm joined this morning in the studio with producer Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
The chairman of the board, the man behind the glass. So here we are. Now, I have a question for you, Pete. Was Bob Plass in studio yesterday, or was he zooming in?
He was at home yesterday. He's trying to. Because he's one of the populations.
He's high risk.
Yeah.
Yep.
He knows we're doing everything to clean here, but he's trying to set an example as well. So.
Yeah. Okay. And that was fine. It
so was
sounded,
Dr. Coughlin too.
Yes, I could tell that Kevin was calling in from afar, which is fine. I think a lot of our guests are going to be doing that. Bob didn't sound like he was broadcasting from in studio, and I just wasn't sure. Only because I would know that. I don't know that anybody else would have been able to really tell the difference.
We kind of have to get him a better microphone.
Okay.
Because if he's going to do it on a regular basis, I'm going to try to get him something a little bit better that he can plug into his device.
Yeah.
I think he's using a laptop.
Okay. Yeah, but the show went well. I got to listen to Kevin and, the good Dr. Coughlin. So, yeah, it was a good show. So, Pete, since we last saw each other a week ago, we had Easter weekend. So
yes.
how was your weekend? What did you do for Easter? People really changed it up a little bit this year.
Yeah, we taped two more bands over the weekend for the Studio 120 sessions.
Nice.
Kind of around this time of year, so when my dad passed away in 2002, so I usually go visit his grave.
Yeah.
Usually I do it, on my way to my brother's house for Easter dinner, which, it didn't happen.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
I did, however, make a ton of, I had some pasta that was getting ready to, it was like within a month or two of being out of date.
Okay.
So I made a ton of pasta like on Friday, and then I dropped that off on Saturday at my brother's house, and we talked for a while on both ends of the garage,
Yes, yep, oh yeah.
So my brother's going nuts. He had popcorn ceilings in his house that he bought a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And he said we've never really had the chance because now I have a captive audience and we're painting all the rooms.
Yes.
And he said, we're just painting the whole house.
Well, we were just, Gary and I have just been joking around, and we've talked to other friends as well who have said everybody's house is going to look amazing. Everybody's yard is going to look amazing because, people have all this time, and at least places like Home Depot are open. The hardware stores are open.
Right.
They're considered essential, so you can go and get supplies. If you can afford it, you can get some supplies and work on your house. I know my seniors have been cleaning out closets and drawers and cabinets.
I wish I had time to do that.
I know. Yeah, you and me both, Pete. Gary and Grace are going to town on the house. I have not.
I live by
had
myself,
that
so
luxury.
I live by myself. So I was here till 8:30 last night doing Conservation Commission.
Yep.
And today we have a mayor's press conference at 11.
Yes.
And conference call at 3. And I'm trying to get editing done for all these shows. I know we have stuff booked for next weekend for Studio 120 sessions, but I think I'm going to do a weekend shutdown after that. And I know Ken will be mad at me, but I need some time to catch up.
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do. And people keep telling me the same thing. Don't burn yourself out. And I'm so concerned about my staff and not wanting to burn out my staff because, some of us are really putting in some long hours and some extra hours and so forth. And I am mindful of that. And I did the same thing. I'm like, all right, we're going to take a day in May because they closed City Hall on Good Friday, which was fine, but we couldn't be closed because we already we already had the lunch on the menu and we had people expecting to be able to get their Good Friday lunch. So we couldn't do that. And I thought, I got to build something in May because I don't want my folks burning out either.
I didn't realize that. I completely forgot it. Days run into each other because I'm here pretty much by myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it until like Sunday. I'm like, you know what? The mayor closed City Hall on Friday, even to the employees, and I just worked through it.
Yeah. Yeah, as did we. We did the same thing. So, I think just being aware of that and being aware that we do also need to have some time to replenish and refresh, and I think that's important.
The other thing too is I got furloughed from my job in Mount Holyoke. I was a part-time dispatcher, so I was booked every weekend through this month to cover for other people and stuff like that.
Yep.
And they kind of closed ranks because they're worried that a couple of part-timers tested positive, but one of them works in a hospital.
Yep.
And the other one is a full-time municipal dispatcher, and it's like they're going to be at high risk.
Yes.
I'm in a bubble. I told the chief, I'm like, I'm in a bubble. And he's like, I know, but I believe you. But I got to do this across the board and just make it painful.
I know. I had to make some decisions myself. So, about certain, staff members and those who are at higher risk and, who do we really need. And we're all trying to keep that to a minimum. And the same with volunteers. I mean, I have just a very, very tiny core of volunteers because, of course, most of the volunteers at the senior center are seniors. Most of them are older themselves, so they are in that high risk group. And so, we need to be careful.
But I'm feeling the pinch of not having that extra income. You get used to that, having at least one shift a week.
Yep.
And that extra money's built into my budget.
Yeah.
That one shift a week anything over that is kind of gravy.
Yeah.
But that one shift a week is built into my budget, and that becomes a bit of a hardship. So
yeah, and P, I get it because I have half my staff as part-timers and some of my older employees are part-timers, and it's the same thing. It's not that they're not making enough with us to live on because they might be working 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week.
Yeah.
But they definitely count on that. So that, it's kind of a piece of, part of it. So it's a tough situation. And there are folks in really dire straits. And of course we all, keep going back to those small businesses and those people who work for small businesses.
And I don't know whether I should apply for underemployment.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Well, it's a COVID-19 related furlough.
I did not know that.
I gotta explore, see and I feel weird about it because that's not who I am.
I get it.
But even Ken Stomsky was like, try.
Yeah.
Because you're losing income that you normally rely on and you need for your bills.
Is Kenny working?
Ken's completely furloughed.
Oh, he's completely furloughed. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what about Jay?
No, Jay's still working.
Okay.
Most of his clients, a lot of his clients are essential businesses anyways.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
But his guys are feeling weird about going into bill, and I don't blame them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think as I hear people being interviewed, this is so new and so different for people. It's not like I'm not the kind of person, but I think just in terms of sort of, applying for unemployment or, that kind of thing, it's like, I've never done that before. I don't even know where to start.
Well, I don't even know. So, like, I might go through the process to see, and I shouldn't be whining or whatever, but
you're not whining. You're
but
just
it is income
stating
that
a fact.
Yeah, it's income that I need, for bills.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, we have, people have rent and
not that I live a highfalutin lifestyle because
no, you don't have time to live a highfalutin lifestyle, Pete. That's
right.
why Gary always says I'm pretty low maintenance. Well, I don't have time to do all the stuff that you would spend money on, like shopping and going out and so forth.
Like if you listen to my car right now, I think I need a muffler.
Oh dear, oh boy.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I can't even get over for that.
Yeah. So I want to tell you about my Easter before we go to our first break because it kind of ties in. So Gary and I are Catholic, and Grace, Grace went all through Catholic school, kindergarten through, preschool really through high school. Yep, exactly. But she, like many of her cohorts, isn't big on going to church and so forth. So, I thought,
believing
all right,
but not practicing.
Yes. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
And so, not really enamored with the whole thing. So I thought to myself, all right, well, I suppose we could do Mass on television. But I decided about a week before Easter that I really wanted to do something that was more meaningful for all of us. So got the family together a week ahead of time. And I said, what do you say we create our own Easter service? So, Gary and Grace kind of looked at me like, all right, what did you have in mind? I said, well, we can kind of loosely follow the Catholic Mass in terms of just sort of the structure of it. Mm-hmm. But I said, we could just do it all ourselves. So each one of us can pick a song. Each one of us can pick a reading. It doesn't have to be a reading from the Bible. It's just something that's meaningful for us. It can be a poem or, something inspirational or a story. We did read the gospel reading according to John. And then we decided we would do communion and bake our own unleavened bread. So what ended up happening was we each chose a song, we each chose a reading. Oh, and we did the prayers of intercession. So we each came up with like 3, people, groups, whatever that we wanted to pray for. And then Grace baked the unleavened bread on Saturday evening. And we did it in our Serenity room, and I created a little altar, which this was not really in the plan, but it just kind of happened. Grace and I had talked about the fact that we should probably have some candles. We thought that would be really nice. So we have a buffet in the Serenity room. So we cleared the buffet, and I had a candle from my mother's funeral. Mm-hmm. And then I had on the other side a statue of the Virgin Mary that was my father-in-law's. It was Gary's dad's, and it had been on his chest of drawers, for as long as I had ever known him and as long as Gary could remember. And then I had the crucifix from my parents' bedroom, again, hanging on the wall. It was above the door forever and ever. And when my parents passed away, I was kind of the only practicing Catholic still in the family, so I took the crucifix. So we had that, and then I had a picture of Gary's mom and dad and my mom and dad.
That's cool.
And so that was just, it was just, kind of very quiet and so forth. And then, so we had a couple days before we had decided the order of the Mass and who was going to do what and which, so Grace got the opening hymn or the opening song. It wasn't really hymn, the opening song. And I had the closing song, and then Gary had the one sort of in the middle there. Mm-hmm. And then we had the different readings. And, Pete, it was so meaningful. It was so great. First, Grace started right out of the gate, and we're actually going to play. That's why I wanted to tell this story, because the first song that we're going to play at the break in just a minute or two is a song that she chose. I had never heard this song. It's by Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey. I had never heard them sing this. I had never heard them sing together. I just thought it was really a beautiful song. But I think the thing this service, we didn't have a time frame in mind. It ended up taking about 45 minutes, but I think none of us, it was just like all of a sudden we were done, and we were all kind of looking at each other going, this was so great. It was just really meaningful for all of us. And
Sure.
I was just so delighted that Grace, she got totally into this. Totally into it. She was telling people about it, like for days before Easter, we're planning this service, and she told me fairly early on, well, I chose my song, and then she was still working on her reading. She actually came up with some quotes. But it was just, what a really special, great way to do this. So,
Sure, yeah.
We've all talked about, in my family, we keep talking about the silver linings. What are the silver linings? Trying to look at what are the bright spots in this very, challenging, really dark time. Yeah, it is really challenging because, we are starting, I think we're all starting to get to the point where we know people who have been diagnosed. Certainly in my world, I know people who have died from this. So it's that part of it is really, really hard. So we're trying to find some things that are silver linings in it, and there are silver linings. There's no doubt about it. You see families doing, as Gary said, people are walking more. I mean, because they're going crazy at home, so they're trying to get out, and they're actually exercising more. I heard one piece, I think it was on NPR the other day, and this guy was saying, we've turned our garage into our sort of gym, our family gym, and he said, well, we've never worked out at the same time, but you've got somebody over in this corner and somebody over in that corner, and I'm over here, my wife's over there, and and he said it's really kind of fun to be doing this as a family. So I think that there are a lot of some interesting, kind of good things that are coming out of this. So with that, I wanted to play the song that Grace chose for our Easter service, and it's called When You Believe. It's by Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey, and it's just really moving, so I just wanted to share it with everyone.
We are not afraid, although we know there's much to fear. We were moving mountains long before we knew we could. Oh, yes, there can be miracles when you believe, though hope is free. It's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe? Somehow you will when you believe.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:22. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. It is Wednesday, April 15th. My name is Tina Gorman, and I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. And in the studio with me this morning, behind his glass, in his little cocoon, his little bubble back there, is the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
Pete, I'm starting to feel like it has been almost 6 years that we've been doing the show together. It'll be 6 years in June. And I'm starting to feel like we've gone through a lot together. Just the hosts of the show, we've seen a lot of things happen over the last 6 years. In my world, we built a brand new senior center that happened during the course of this time. And of course, we've been through tornadoes and we've been through all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And now this pandemic. So
this one's is the strangest of all.
I agree with you. For one thing, it's really hard, I think, and Jim Wiggs, our emergency management director for the city of Westfield, has said on several occasions, and I agree with him, this one is different because we don't know where the end is. When you do a tornado,
It's almost like a timeshare.
right? It's like you know that there's
end?
Right, there's a cleanup time. You know that it's going to be rough waters for a little while, and then there's cleanup, and then there's you rebuild and recover. And we keep getting different, timelines from different people.
Because there is no timeline.
I know. That's the
problem
bottom line.
and I heard this on one of the press conferences from the president the other day. People kept trying to pin him down on a date, and they kept, what's the date? What's the date? What's the date? And he goes, and I almost thought he was going to say, hey, I gave you one date last time, and we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And now he's saying, when it's prudent, when the people are
which
telling me
is-
that it's
right.
the right time to do this. And everybody's saying it, and he hasn't said it, but I'm sure I know other people have. You can't turn on a light switch. I think Fauci said it.
Yes.
You can't turn on a light switch. It's got to be like incremental. And
Yes.
I think in areas that have already passed by the top of the curve, where more people are getting better than coming in, that's what they mean by the top of the curve. More people are recovering
Right.
than
Yep.
contracting or
Yep.
going to the hospital.
Yeah.
Is that you start opening small businesses and things like that, getting the base economy running, because that's where the economy really is. It's in small businesses,
Of course.
and they're the ones that are suffering the most. I don't think you'll see like a huge stadium event until September.
Yeah. I agree.
But the rest of the economy by then will be back and going, and manufacturing will start to pick back up and things like that. But these huge events, like, I don't think you'll see a baseball season this year.
I don't think so either.
Or if you do, it'll be
smaller.
It'll be in Florida. It
Yeah.
won't be in front of crowds. It'll be television, which is perfectly adequate for something like that.
Sure.
Football, I don't think would do well without a crowd.
Yeah. I don't know.
Pro wrestling, UFC, those are doing okay without crowds. It's not quite the same, but it's still something different. You could do golf
Sure.
without crowds. You could easily do golf without crowds.
Yeah.
And most of those sports, are television revenue more so than the box office.
Right. Well, especially golf, because it's really hard to see unless you're watching it on TV. On TV, you can see
even
the whole
baseball,
thing.
Baseball, you
agreed.
could very easily do that with.
Sure.
It would be weird, but it would be something for people to do and watch.
Yeah. Yep.
Because
Yep.
a lot of people, I couldn't afford tickets for Fenway.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah.
I don't make enough money for that.
Yeah. Right. And now that people are, they're kind of behind on bills and mortgage payments and all that kind of. Good
They're
stuff.
not going to
So,
have the money.
They
so
aren't going to have that discretionary income.
They can watch it on TV, and they'd love to watch it on TV.
Yep.
I don't think you'll see any of the NBA season come back in sports.
Right.
I noticed that NASCAR's doing this iRacing thing. Apparently, it's been a thing. It's online racing, and the graphics are so good. Like each individual driver's at their house, so it's an invitational between these guys that have done really good in the virtual world, and guys that are NASCAR drivers.
Okay.
That do it as practicing and stuff.
Yeah.
And Fox is actually broadcasting it in place of the NASCAR races that they're contracted for, and it's actually pretty good. The graphics are so good.
Well, I haven't really watched this much, but what are they showing like on ESPN? Are they doing just past
They're
games
doing
and
old
programs
things.
and things like that? Because I was going to say, what do you fill a sports station with when there is no live sports?
They've been doing a lot of wrestling.
to talk about.
Honestly, they've been doing a lot of airing old WrestleManias and things like that. They've been airing a ton of wrestling stuff. Fox Sports 1 had some of the WWE Network series on it. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, okay.
Because it's content.
Yeah, I guess.
You can only air so many NCAA Final Four games.
Right, exactly.
Or old football games.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's when you think about it, that's
People
all
want fresh
that's
content.
all they do is sports. And when you we've had no sports for over a month now.
So I'm saying if you're around this weekend and they're probably airing a race somewhere, they have replays, and they put the driver in an insert like I'm in, right now.
Yes, right.
When they're talking to and they could talk to a driver with these. Some of them have these cool tripped out rigs, like my monitors in front of me, so they can have a panoramic view, and they got the driving rig and the whole bit, and some of them just have a single monitor. It's like. And these guys are,
Who knew?
The iRacers are having a interesting, and I saw it for Formula One the other day. They're doing it too. It's like, wow, okay, well, do you really need to go back to the track? Could you do everything virtually?
Is so much safer.
Well, yeah, and there's something to be said about a race and going, because I've been to a big race in New Hampshire. When there's 30, 40,000 people there, it's electric.
Well, it's like anything, you put that many people in a stadium for just about anything, you can get excited about it.
But it's not a bad substitute.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so there's an idea for you. All right, let's talk about some famous birthdays, and I want to start with this particular person because I have a lot of songs tied into this man. So it is the birthday of the late George Marino, and probably not a name that most of us are familiar with, but he was a music mastering engineer. So he was born April 15th, 1947 in the Bronx. He died June 4th, 2012 at the age of 65. But he's a really interesting guy. So George Marino broke into the music business as a guitarist playing rock and roll in local New York City bands such as the Chancellors and the New Sounds Limited, until most of the band members were drafted into the service for the war in Vietnam. In 1967, Marino landed his first job in the industry as a librarian and assistant at Capitol Studios. Soon after, he apprenticed in the mastering department alongside Joe Lansky, cutting rock, pop, jazz, and classical albums. During his time at Capitol, George Marino mastered such classics as the Beatles' single of Hey Jude. When Capitol Records closed its New York studio in 1971, Marino joined the fledgling record plant, eventually becoming a partner in the mastering business of the record plant.
Wow.
From 1973 until his death in 2012, George Marino worked at Sterling Sound. Over the course of Marino's nearly 40 years with Sterling, he mastered and or remastered albums by AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, Whitney Houston, Coldplay, Cyndi Lauper, Journey, Kiss, Motley Crue, The Cars, Bon Jovi, Dan Fogelberg, Jimi Hendrix, Michael Bublé, Alice Cooper, Tommy James and the Shondells, Bob Dylan, John Mellencamp, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Ringo Starr, Santana, Josh Groban, Southside Johnny, Willie Nelson, Elvis Presley, and hundreds of others. That's amazing to me.
Nothing to sneeze at.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. And also, that was phenomenal because as soon as I found out it was his birthday, I said, there's all my music because I can tie it all into George Marino. Yeah. But, Pete, I have so much more I would not have really even understood what this was all about before I worked on the radio station. Yep. But I have so much more of an appreciation having worked with you and Kenny and Jay and all of those people who do the behind the scenes stuff. So I realize how impressive all of that is.
Yeah.
So happy birthday to the late George Marino. I thought that was really interesting. So we'll do we have lots of other birthdays. We have a special awareness month that we're going to talk about. And later on at 7:15, we'll have Eliana Lakritz, our sort of resident dietitian, registered dietitian with us this morning from afar. She'll be calling in. We have that. And then I'm actually going to bolt at about 5 to 8 today because we have the brown bag distribution. So we'll talk more about that when we come back from break. So this one is, what are we doing today? We're doing Everything by Michael Bublé. This is in honor of the birthday of George Marino.
You're a falling star, you're the getaway car, you're the line in the sand when I go too far. You're the swimming pool on an August day, and you're the perfect thing to say. And you play it coy, but it's kinda cute. Oh, when you smile at me, you know exactly what you do. Baby, don't pretend that you don't know it's true, 'cause you can see it when I look at you. And in this crazy life, and through these crazy times, it's you. You make me sing your every line, your every word, your everything. You're a carousel, you're always well, and you light me up when you ring my bell. You're a mystery, you're from outer space, you're every minute of my everyday. And I can't believe that I'm your man, and I get to kiss you, baby, just because I can. Whatever comes our way, I will see it through, and you know that's what our love can do. And in this crazy life, and through these crazy times, it's you. You make me sing your every line, your every word, your everything. Everything, your every song, and I sing along, 'cause you're my everything. Yeah. So la 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 la. So la.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for ArtsBeat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:36. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and Pete Coles and I are here at Studio 120 at Westfield, a very quiet Westfield Technical Academy, right, Pete?
It's
really,
yes, it's really eerie quiet.
It's eerie, yeah. And, you know,
it's kind of weird here during the storm earlier this week.
Oh, yes.
Things banging and stuff. And
right, but you're here by yourself.
Like, what the heck was that?
No, that's a little strange and crazy.
Rain
Now, Pete,
sideways.
when you do the conference call today, there's a press conference. Where are you here? Where are you for that?
No, I have to be at City Hall
You're at
because
City Hall.
the mayor's
Okay.
going to be in council chambers.
Okay.
If he was virtual, I could do everything from here. So,
Gotcha.
like, when I do Conservation Commission, I did your Council on Aging Board
Yes.
earlier this week.
Yes, thank you.
That
for
was
that.
all done out of here.
Right. Okay, perfect. Good. Okay, excellent. So today is April 15th, so we have some other famous birthdays. So it's the birthday of the late Elizabeth Montgomery, actress born April 15th, 1933 in Los Angeles, California.
I have to.
She died, well, I know, that's not going to be until later on. She did a lot of stuff before
I
that,
know.
I found out. She died May 18th in 1995 at the age of 62. Elizabeth Montgomery was born to actress Elizabeth Allen and actor-director Robert Montgomery. Her TV debut was in 1951 in her father's show, which was called Robert Montgomery Presents. Elizabeth Montgomery's first Broadway show, Late Love, won her a Theatre World Award. On television, a role in The Untouchables in 1959 marked her first Emmy Award nomination. Television highlights also included roles in Studio One, Kraft Theater, GE Theater, Alcoa Theater, The Twilight Zone, Thriller, 77 Sunset Strip, Rawhide, and Wagon Train.
Oh.
Yeah, we think of her, of course, for that one role, but she did a lot before that. Her film debut was in The Court Martial of Billy Mitchell in 1955 with Gary Cooper, followed by Johnny Cool in 1963 starring Sammy Davis Jr., and Who's Been Sleeping in My Bed in 1963 with Dean Martin. Though she had several roles under her belt, Montgomery had yet to take on play the spellbinding character that she would best be known for. In 1964, she landed a spot on the hit TV series Bewitched. In the TV show Bewitched, Elizabeth Montgomery played Samantha Stevens, a witch married to Darren, a mortal first portrayed by Dick York, who left the series due to illness, and then by Dick Sargent. The antics of the well-meaning Samantha and her quirky relatives wreaked havoc for Darren, who tried to conceal the strange goings-on from nosy neighbors and from his stuffy boss. Bewitched was the #1 rated sitcom for 4 of its 8 years, and Montgomery was nominated for an Emmy Award 5 times for her portrayal of Samantha. In March of 1995, Elizabeth Montgomery was diagnosed with colon cancer, and she died just 8 weeks later on May 18th. 1995 at the age of 62. So happy birthday to the late Elizabeth Montgomery. And yes, Pete, I knew you would find that music there, my friend.
When themes were cool,
Themes
shows
cool.
had themes.
Yeah. And it was
Nowadays
really
it's kinda
funny
hit or
because
miss.
one of my coworkers has that as her, when her phone rings, she has that as the ring is the theme song from Bewitched. And for a long time, I couldn't, I was like, where do I know that song? Of course you know it. It's like, wait, which TV show was that? Which TV show was that? It took me a while to come up with it.
That's funny.
All right. It is also the birthday of physician and medical researcher Dr. Robert Lefkowitz. He was born April 15th, 1943, also in the Bronx. He is 77 years old. Upon completing his medical residency and research and clinical training in 1973, Robert Lefkowitz was appointed Associate Professor of Medicine and Assistant Professor of Biochemistry at the Duke University Medical School. In 1977, he was promoted to Professor of Medicine, and in 1982 to James B. Duke Professor of Medicine at Duke University. He's also a professor of biochemistry and a professor of chemistry. He's been an investigator of the Howard Hughes Medical Institute since 1976 and was an established investigator of the American Heart Association from 1973 to 1976. Dr. Lefkowitz is best known for his groundbreaking discoveries that reveal the inner workings of an important family G protein-coupled receptors, for which he was awarded the 2012 Nobel Prize for Chemistry with Brian Kobilka. Today, we know that about 1,000 receptors in the human body belong to this same family. The importance of this is that all of these receptors use the same basic mechanisms, so that pharmaceutical researchers now understand how to effectively target the largest receptor family in the human body. Today, as many as 30 to 50% of all prescription drugs are designed to fit, like keys, into the similarly locked structures of Lefkowitz's receptors. Everything from antihistamines to ulcer drugs to beta blockers that help relieve hypertension, angina, and coronary disease. Lefkowitz is among the most highly cited researchers in the field of biology, biochemistry, pharmacology, toxicology, and clinical medicine. And he's still alive, 77 years old. So happy birthday to Robert Lefkowitz. You know, it's not always all about musicians and actors and actresses. I like to throw some science in there once in a while and some entrepreneurs in there once in a while. So it is also the birthday of, are you ready for this name? Ponce Kaya Marshall Heloise Cruz Evans. But we know her best as Dear Heloise, the columnist. But that's her real name. She has 6 names. She was born April 15th, 1951 in Waco, Texas. Heloise is 69 years old today. She's an American writer, author, and speaker specializing in lifestyle hints, including consumer issues, pets, travel, food, home improvement, and health. Heloise's father was in the Air Force, and like many military brats, she moved frequently. Her mother, Heloise Bowles, started a newspaper column in the Honolulu Advertiser called Reader's Exchange, and that was back in 1959. It was later changed to Hints from Heloise when King Features Syndicate picked up the column and started syndicating it nationwide. Within just a few years, the column appeared in more than 600 newspapers worldwide. Heloise, the daughter, that's whose birthday it is today, took over the column in 1977 when Mother Heloise died of heart disease. She worked with her mother for several years and contributed to the column as Heloise II. It is still one of the most widely syndicated newspaper columns. She is contributing editor for Good Housekeeping magazine and writes the monthly column Heloise to the Rescue. She has written 11 books, hosted a national radio show, and is a nationally known speaker. In 1983, an online database of Hints from Heloise became one of the first online information products available to the public. So happy birthday, Dear Heloise. Or maybe I should say, Dear Heloise, happy birthday.
There you
How's
go.
that? She is 69 years old today. It is also, we'll do one more, then we'll take a break. It is also the birthday of actress Emma Thompson. She was born April 15th, 1959 in London, England. She's 61 years old today. Emma Thompson was born into a family of actors. Her father, Eric Thompson, was a television and stage actor, and during Thompson's childhood served as the narrator for a much-loved children's television series called The Magic Roundabout. Emma Thompson has accrued a long and impressive list of film credits to her name, many of them literary adaptations. Early in her career, she appeared in Shakespearean classics along with her then-husband, actor-director Kenneth Branagh, and won her first Academy Award for her lead in the film adaptation of E.M. Forster's story from 1910 called Howard's End. In 1995, Emma Thompson achieved an unusual distinction in Academy Award history when she won her second Oscar, in this case for the screenplay to Sense and Sensibility. With that win, Thompson became the only person ever to have won Academy Awards in both the performing and writing categories. So I think that was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And, you know, the fact that she's the only person to have done that. So Pretty cool. Go Emma Thompson. All right, we have one more birthday. We'll do that after the break. It is 6:45. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses on WCPC Cable Channel 15. And this song, too, is in honor of the birthday of music engineer George Marino. This one's by Tommy James and the Shondells, and it's called Sweet Cherry Wine.
Everyone, we got to get together now. Oh yeah, love's the only thing that matters anyhow. And the beauty of life can only survive if we love one another. Oh yeah, yesterday my friends were marching out to war. Oh yeah, listen now, we ain't marching anymore. No, we ain't gonna fight. Only God has the right to decide who's to live and die. He gave us sweet cherry wine, so very fine. We'll drink it right down, pass it all around, so stimulating, so intoxicating. Sweet cherry wine. Everybody's gonna feel so fine, drinking sweet cherry wine. Yes, they will. Watch the mountain turn to dust and roll away. Oh Lord, you know there's got to be a better way. And the old masquerade is an oh-so parade, marching through the ruins of time. Save us, he gave us sweet cherry wine, so very fine. We'll drink it right down, pass it all around, so stimulating, so intoxicating. Sweet cherry wine. Everybody's gonna feel so fine, drinking sweet cherry wine. Oh, sweet cherry wine, so very fine. We'll drink it right down, pass it all around, so stimulating, so intoxicating. Sweet cherry wine. Come on, drink it with your brother, trust in one another. Yeah, yeah, we need each other. Sweet cherry wine. Drink it right down, pass it all around. People, don't you know the cup is running over? Hey, yeah,
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield. Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday. Every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. Yes, Bob, you did it. I chuckle every time I hear that
Me too.
promo. I just think it's just perfect. It's so great for him. Gary likes the one that Harry Rock does. He thinks that, you know, My City and Rock On Westfield, and so they're fun. They were fun to do too.
Yeah.
It
Harry
is-
was struggling with that one, and I came up
Oh, he
with
did a
helped him come up with
great
the tagline.
job. Yeah,
for
that's
that.
what he needed. He needed the tagline.
Yep.
So he did a great job. It is 6:52, and you're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. That voice you hear in the background is producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
I have a few shout outs that I want to do for some folks that have really helped me out at the senior center and helped my staff out tremendously. So first of all, a big shout out to my husband, Gary. We are really limiting the number of volunteers that we have helping us out. And as I said, many of our volunteers are older themselves. I mean, 70s, 80s. We have volunteers that are even into their 90s. And of course, that puts them in a high risk group for the coronavirus. And so we are all being very careful, and they are being very careful, as they should be.
Yep.
So not volunteering, sheltering in place, doing what they're supposed to do. But that has left a bit of a gap because we do need some help. And I have to thank my husband, Gary, who has been just tremendous. Actually, Trinity is on furlough right now, the Agawam office. So Gary's had some time to help me out, and I have recruited him for helping out with traffic control during our curbside lunch pickup. And he's been doing it now for the last month, so he knows the cars, he knows he doesn't know all the names, but he definitely recognized the faces. And my only problem is that I have Gary stationed right before people actually come and pick up the lunch, so they have to stop and wait for the car in front of them.
Yep.
And of course, Gary starts chatting with them, from afar, and we all have masks on and so forth. But I'm waiting, and I'm like, okay, Gary, send the next car through. But he's deep in conversation. But I really wanted to thank Gary, and two other people that I really want to thank. City Councilor Mike Burns, who drove I think he took the Medical Reserve Corps van or trailer. I think that was the trailer in the pouring rain, which I think was last Thursday, up to the Amherst Senior Center. They had a lot of medical equipment. We are the only senior center who has continued to run our medical equipment loan program, I believe, pretty much in the Lower Pioneer Valley.
Yep.
That is what I'm being told by the therapists from Bay State Home Health who are utilizing that equipment for their patients. And so my inventory was really low because I have people borrowing, but nobody's bringing anything back, and that's fine. It's understandable. So the Amherst director reached out to me, and Mary Beth, whose last name is really hard to say, so I'm not even going to try that on air. It begins with an O. We'll call her Mary Beth O, who is actually a Westfield resident, but she is the director of the Amherst Council on Aging. So she contacted me and said, you are the only game in the valley who's doing medical equipment. I have a lot of it. I can't do anything with it because she said I don't have the staff right now, and I don't have any way of cleaning and sanitizing it. And I do, because I have my building maintenance craftsman who's been working with me.
There you go.
So anyway, but the biggest problem was I needed wheelchairs and shower benches and things like that, which are very large. You can't throw them in a car because Mary Beth sent me down 8 wheelchairs, 3 transfer chairs, I think like 7 shower benches, some shower chairs, some walkers, some rollator walkers. So
what's going to happen when this is all over? Are those all going to get shipped back to them?
no,
or?
nope. She has donated them from her, because you know what, Pete? We constantly get medical equipment donate. All of us do. We get donations. You know, people purchase equipment or it comes through their insurances, and then the person maybe passes away, maybe goes to a nursing home,
Yep.
and that equipment. So, you know, we've all got that supply coming in, but of course, right now there's nothing coming. It's just it's a dead time. And also Mary Beth is really tight for space up there. So she was kind of happy.
So she did you a solid.
And you know what? It was a win-win. She needed to create some space up there for herself, and I really needed the equipment right now. So it was a win-win, but I appreciate Mike Burns, who drove up to Amherst, helped to load all this stuff up, drove it back to our senior center, and in the pouring rain with Alex, unloaded it on Thursday.
Well, I remember you talking about shouting that out in the wide area call on
Yeah.
Wednesday, and
Yes.
it got done. So.
Yes, it did. So thank you to City Councilor Mike Burns. I actually went through Jim Wiggs for that one, and Jim lined up the volunteer, but I didn't know who it was until, you know, the morning of. Yep, and he was texting me saying, okay, I'm on my way. And the other person that I really want to thank and give a shout out to is Michelle Moniz. Michelle runs our Heaven's Angels program at the Senior Center, and that's a month. The group meets monthly, and they sew baby gowns out of donated wedding gowns for babies who do not make it out of the hospital. So
Yep.
they're either stillborn or, you know, whatever tragedy kind of happens. And when those babies are presented to their parents, and obviously they're very tiny, it's just nice for them to be in something that's, that's kind of sacred. So they make these baby gowns, and they are absolutely gorgeous. And when the coronavirus started, Michelle, contacted me and said she had gotten right off the bat. I mean, right out of the gate, she had found a pattern for making masks, and she was using the one through the CDC so that it met all the requirements. She was using the right materials and so forth. So she asked me if we needed any masks. And of course, at the time I said, I'm not sure, let me put your name on a list, and if I do, I will contact you. Well, of course, as this thing went on, and we had purchased some paper masks that we just have in our health care, in our health, our wellness center, that our nurse, we just thought we might need to use that. So, that supply we didn't have a great supply anyway. And so I thought, boy, as this thing went on, I thought, well, I better get Michelle. So Michelle made us some masks, and I just put in another order the other day, and she made some more masks for us. So I think she's done about 20 masks for us.
Great.
And I am very, very appreciative of that. And they're beautiful. I mean, they're well constructed and so forth. So thank you to Michelle as well. So those are some people that I just wanted to do a little shout out for. We have one more famous birthday today, and then we'll take a short break. And when we come back, we'll talk about what it is National Awareness Month. So we'll talk about that. Which one? Today it is the birthday of actor Danny Pino. He was born April 15th, 1974 in Miami, Florida. He is 46 years old. Pino is best known for his performance as the Mexican drug lord Armadillo Quintero on FX's The Shield. He has also appeared in the films The Lost City in 2005 and Flicka in 2006. He starred in the hit CBS series Cold Case as Detective Scotty Valens from 2003 to 2010. That was my first introduction to Danny Pino. And then in 2011, he joined the cast of Law & Order Special Victims Unit for its 13th season. And that was at the same time that actress Kelly Giddish also joined the cast, and that coincided with Christopher Maloney's departure from the cast. On SVU, Pino portrayed New York Police Department Detective Nick Amaro, a detective transferring from the narcotics squad to the Special Victims Unit. In 2017, he joined the cast of the procedural crime drama series Gone as FBI agent John Bishop. I never saw Gone. Did you ever see that show, Pete?
No,
2017. I don't know if it's even still on. I think it was kind of short-lived. I used to watch him in Cold Case and SVU, but I have not seen Gone. But anyway, so happy 46th birthday to actor Danny Pino. It is 7 o'clock. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We'll take our top of the hour break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what Awareness Month it is.
WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:04. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and in the studio with me behind his glass bubble over there is producer Pete Coles, who looks like he's a little discombobulated right now. What's going on over there, Pete?
Just
You
getting
okay?
the phone out in case Eliana calls the other number. So.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. What was it? Oh, now, I was just listening to the Michael Buster McMahon. Is he still doing his show?
Yes.
Now, is he coming in or is he doing it remotely?
He's coming in.
He is. Okay.
Most people want to come in.
Yep.
But I wanted to get the other stuff running just in case.
Just in case. Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. All right. So in April, we celebrate autism awareness and autism acceptance. So autism as a diagnosis has changed radically over the past several decades. Before the 1990s, autism was not considered to be a spectrum disorder. Thus, anyone with an autism diagnosis had relatively severe symptoms. Many professionals believed that autism was a result of poor parenting. The famous psychologist Bruno Bettelheim wrote extensively about what he called refrigerator mothering. An adult with autism was typically thought to require an institutional setting. Did you ever hear that expression, Pete, refrigerator mother?
No, I've heard
yeah.
that. Oh, insulate them?
Well, no. That was the theory years ago was that children with autism were that way because their mothers were very cold, very callous, they weren't nurturing type of mothers.
No.
That was a theory for many years. And as they said, it wasn't.
There are kids who are turned out badly because their mothers are cold, uncaring. And
yeah, right, exactly. Whole different story, though.
Yeah.
The movie Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise provides a good insight about autism in those days, sort of how we viewed it at that time. Hoffman's character had been institutionalized for most of his life despite his verbal and intellectual abilities. Leaving the institution is a frightening experience, and he required full-time care from his brother in order to successfully navigate the outside world. Enter Dr. Bernard Rimland, a psychologist with an autistic son. He debunked the refrigerator mother theory and created an organization called the Autism Society. According to the Society's website, the Autism Society began its first nationwide awareness program in the early 1970s. It was adopted by Congress in 1984, and the iconic Autism Awareness Ribbon was designed in 1999. In order to combat the idea that autism is the enemy, and to celebrate the unique gifts of people with autism, several autism advocacy groups created an alternative celebration called Autism Acceptance Month, as opposed to Autism Awareness Month. The group focuses on sharing positive, respectful, and accurate information about autism and those with the diagnosis. Autism Acceptance Month promotes acceptance and celebration of people with autism as family members, friends, classmates, co-workers, and community members making valuable contributions to our world. Autism is a natural variation of the human experience, and we can all create a world which values, includes, and celebrates all kinds of minds. For many families, Autism Awareness Month is a very important observance. For those with a different neurodiverse perspective, however, autism acceptance may be a better choice. So however you wish to celebrate it, it is something that, we know so much more about autism now than we did back then, and our theories have changed, and we do understand now that there is a spectrum. So, there are people who are would be considered very mildly autistic, that you probably don't even realize would have the diagnosis, all the way to those who are more severe. So just something to think about. All right, a couple of announcements. So my big announcement today for the Senior Center is that typically our brown bag food distribution program is held on the second Tuesday of the month. Mm-hmm. However, that was yesterday, and we did not hold the brown bag yesterday because we don't have enough staff and we don't have enough hours in the day to get this all done at once. So what we decided to do this month, and we will do the same thing next month in May, is the food is delivered on the second Tuesday of the month. So the food came in the big food bank food truck yesterday, and we had a skeleton crew, and I recruited Gary to come and help with that as well. So we unloaded the truck and brought everything into the Senior Center, and yesterday afternoon after lunch, because the problem is the truck comes between 9:30 and 10:30, and we have to start getting ready to do curbside lunch at 10:30, putting our cones out and getting everything ready, and our lunch is bagged. So we couldn't do it all yesterday morning. So we got the food, they dropped it off, we took it into the great room, and we said, we'll deal with it after lunch. Then we went and we did 115 lunches yesterday, Pete.
Wow.
For Chicken Popeye. Who knew? So we have the first day that we did lunches, which was like a month ago, it was 42. And we are now up to well over 100. So the program has grown. So what we did was after lunch yesterday and after we got everything cleaned up, we bagged all of the groceries. So there were, I think, 7 of us. And thank you to both Julie Barnes and James Jordan from the Veteran Services who have been helping us with this. So everything's all set. So this morning we will distribute the brown bags. So between 9 and 10:30. And we are really keeping to that time frame because at 10:30 we're done with brown bags because then we have to get everything.
Somebody call lunch.
Yes, because it's lunch. So Pete, I had the best laid plan. So I had this. We mapped it all out like 2 weeks ago. Karen and Mary Lou and I mapped it all out. We figured out who was going to do what, how we were going to do this. We'll do a drive-through curbside pickup for brown bag between 9 and 10:30. We need people all over the parking lot directing traffic because we're really going to snake them around. We have 200 brown bags that we distribute.
That's a lot of food.
So it's a lot of food. So, and that means it's a lot of cars. So we have to snake everybody through the parking lot, which means I have to have staff all over the place. It wasn't until yesterday that it occurred to me that I can't be in the parking lot and Mary Lou can't be in the parking lot. That's 2 bodies that I'm missing because we have to do the lunch reservations beginning at 8:30 in the morning.
Would that be something that the Explorers could help out with?
Well, at this stage of the game, we're going to go with what we have. We have it mapped out. We did recruit a few more volunteers. And my only concern is if we spill out of the parking lot and into the street, that's when I'll be calling Larry Valier saying, can you just send somebody down here just for the street?
I would give him a heads up anyways.
I don't think that's going to happen. We think, because we also have some walkers that come through. That's today. It's this morning.
If anybody's listening over at the department, you might want to give Tina a call and just or have a sector car pop in.
I think that we're going to be okay. Because we're giving it enough of a, between 9 and 10:30. So as long as everybody doesn't show up at exactly the same time, we'll be fine. Because we do have some walkers. And also out of the 200 bags, we do have people that are going to be delivering this afternoon. So we've taken, I think, 30 bags out So that's okay. And then we have some walkers, so we figure that's probably another 10 or 15. And then if it spreads out enough, we're okay because we know we do 100 lunches in a day and we don't even snake them through the parking lot. So we're hoping that we're going to be okay. We're going to find out, you know, and it's just like we've refined everything with lunch as we've gone along. Our main thing, and we know that there is a God because our whole thing was we have to have good weather for this. We have to have good weather, and we do. It's not raining. It's not Monday. I mean, Monday would have been a disaster with the rain and the wind and everything else. So, but for those of you who get the brown bag, what you're going to do is you're going to pull up. We'll have tables. Karen and Julie will be helping out with checking off names. You are going to get out of your car, take your brown bag off the table, put it in your car, and drive away. And I will have people directing where to go in the parking lot and so forth. If you touch it, you take it, because you don't touch a bag and say, oh no, I want this bag because there was a different loaf of bread on top. No. Once you touch it, you take it. That's it. One contact. You own it. That's it. There's no, we are really trying with as little contact as possible. So that will be between 9 and 10:30 today. And then, of course, our lunch will be, there's a change in lunch pickup today, just to give ourselves a bit of a cushion. A lunch pickup today will be 11:30 to 12:30. So as people are calling in and reserving their lunches, we will let them know that. But it's going to be between 11:30 and 12:30 today. So that way we'll know that we've emptied the parking lot of the brown bags and we've gotten everything set up for lunch, and also my kitchen crew, because they're trying to do both at the same time. So
sure,
we will do the very best that we can with all of that. So, but just so that you know that. All right. So I have that one. I also wanted to make this announcement. I am still getting some phone calls about this. The event, the Shred event that was scheduled for this Saturday has been canceled. So CSF Dollars for Scholars had to cancel the event.
Just cancel?
It just canceled. It's not. They did not postpone or reschedule, at least not at this time. We're hoping that usually some of the local banks come through with a Shred event, usually like in June or July. So we're hoping maybe over the summer or even in the fall there will be something. And if we hear of anything, we will certainly let people know. But I did want to make that announcement. And also, just as one more reminder before we go to our quarter-hour break, the Twist Street transfer station is also closed. DPW is doing recycling and trash pickup curbside, but because all of the places that pick up all the recycled stuff are closed, they are running out of room up there. So no Twist Street transfer station. So I know that people are cleaning closets and garages and attics and so forth, but unfortunately, you're going to have to hang on to that stuff. Pile it up somewhere, and when Twist Street reopens, you can take it up there at that time.
All right, your guest is queued up in the bullpen, so
Perfect.
I guess we can take the break.
Then we are going to take a break, and we're going to bring her in with her theme song, which is Food by the Turtles. And when we come back, Eliana Lakritz.
Hamburgers, cheeseburgers, spaghetti, rice, French fried potatoes, and goulash. Eggs over easy, asparagus spears, hot dogs and baked beans and sauerkraut. Red butter, mushrooms and chicken pot pie, pink lemonade on the 4th of July. But there's one thing that we'd gladly doff our shells for. So we present our recipe and wish you well for. You take 2/3 cups of flour, a teaspoonful of salt, a 1/4 pound of butter, add an egg and blend it on. 2 squares of dark chocolate, walnuts, hot and sugar, a teaspoon of baking powder, 30 minutes Honey to artichoke, hearts of lettuce, buttered bagels, and lots of cream cheese rhubarb. Peanut butter sandwiches, English muffins from blackberries, fish bacon, grapefruit. Boiled eggs, banana, chocolate mousse, grits, parsnips, tacos, marmalade, dish kebab, turtle soup.
Well, those brownies ought to be just about ready now. Why don't we go have one? I mean, really.
Underwriting for WSKB's community radio programming is brought to you in part by R. Levesque Associates. They are offering landscape architecture, civil engineering, environmental permitting, and land surveying. RLA is a second-generation company devoted to excellence in the planning and design of outdoor spaces. On the web at rlaland.com or at 40 School Street in Westfield.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:19. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am joined this morning in studio. Pete Coles is behind the glass in his little secluded bubble back there. And on the phone, we have our resident clinical dietitian, Eliana Lakritz from Bay State Noble Hospital. Good morning, Eliana.
Good morning, Tina and Pete. How are you?
We are doing well. How are you?
Hanging in there.
Well, now you're obviously an essential employee. So are you going to the hospital every day, or is that kind of business as usual?
Basically, yeah. No, we're just trying to stay safe and make sure we're doing all the right things hygiene-wise to stay safe and still, be able to do our jobs every day.
Wow. So now are you going in patient rooms and meeting with people?
I am going into rooms. I am not going into COVID-positive rooms.
Okay.
At this time, I am very easily able to just call up to their rooms and ask them the questions. I can't see them, so it's a little difficult to sometimes assess their nutrition status. That's one of the biggest things we do is just observe and notice things like that. But we're making the best of what we can do at this time.
Yeah, wow. And so before we get too much into the clinical, Eliana, I have to ask you this because you are engaged and we have been following the wedding plans. What's happening? Because your wedding is the end of June.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Sure. We're trying to stay positive. All our vendors are still pretty confident that we'll be able to go forward as planned. I'm beginning to think that might not be the case.
Yeah.
We do have a Plan B date in July. Again, not really sure if that's even far enough out. But Bill and I will probably make a decision by the end of the month.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have a nephew that's getting married a couple weeks after you are. I think his date is like July 9th or 10th, something right around there. And same thing. We were on the phone with my brother-in-law a couple weeks ago, and I thought, you know what, I'm not even going to bring this up right now because I think at that point it was, kind of too early to tell. But the family has now started asking, the other relatives. It's like, do you think the wedding's going to happen? And I think it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's a little early. As I said, they're a little behind you. It's a little early to make that decision. But boy, I don't know. Things are looking iffy.
The thing is, things are changing so fast too.
Right.
So I would hate to have to postpone it and then come to find we could have actually had it.
That's true.
So I'm trying to kind of play it by ear, but we do have to make a decision at some point. So yeah, I think by the end of this month we'll have some idea of what we're going to do. It's honestly, it's so frustrating. Wedding planning by itself
Yes.
under normal circumstances
Yes.
is stressful.
Yes.
This is a whole other level of wedding planning stress.
Well, it really is. And as Pete and I were saying earlier in the show, I mean, the thing that's so challenging about this is if you're dealing with like a natural disaster, or if the venue that you were going to have it at had a fire, there's like, it's concrete. So it's like, okay, we need another venue, or okay, we're cleaning up after a tornado and that's going to take 8 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever it's going to take.
Yeah.
And then, but there's no end to it. It's just, I mean, there will be an end eventually, but we just don't know when that is. So you don't know, are you planning for, a month from now or 2 months from now or 8 months from now? I think that's what makes it so hard. And as you said, wedding planning that can be challenging and stressful enough. And then add this other layer on top of it is, that's really tough. Because even if you wanted to go ahead with it, if the venue isn't allowed, then you can't.
Yeah, and you have to deal with all the figuring out who's going to give you your deposit back and who's not.
Yep.
And you'd be surprised. Some people are being very accommodating, and some are not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I get it. And you know what? I think people are also, just from a financial standpoint, you just have a lot of the people who do these kinds of things that are, they're trying to pay their own bills as well. So it's the whole thing is really challenging. Well, we wish you a lot of luck on that front, because that is, as you said, certainly not anything that you planned when you started the whole wedding process here. All right. Well, we'll stay tuned. We'll stay tuned for that. By next month, we'll know what's happening on that end.
Hopefully.
Yeah. All right. So, so you are still at Bay State Noble Hospital, and Bay State Noble Hospital does have some cases, right, of COVID. That not everybody's being sent over to the mothership over there in Springfield, right? Is that right?
Right. So they're mostly, I think we're transferring our more critical cases over there because they have more of that capability to handle.
Yep.
We're handling the more, moderate cases.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, so you were saying before that it's one of the challenges that you have with working with your COVID-19 patients right now is that you don't actually go into the room. And I would imagine when you look at somebody on pre-COVID-19, when you would go in and do an assessment, what are some of the things, Eliana, that you would notice, visually, that would give you some hints about nutrition?
Oh, it's a ton of stuff.
Okay, go ahead. Shoot.
Color
What is
of
it?
their skin. It could be
it
could be their skin. It could be their hydration status, which you would assess, by checking their skin turgor, how hydrated they are, how quickly it bounces back when you pinch them, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Muscle stores, if they've lost a lot of muscle, and I usually would do a nutrition-focused physical exam, during which I would, kind of pinch around in places, feel for muscle stores and fat stores in their face all the way down to their feet. It can be very obvious if somebody's very malnourished by their appearance.
Sure.
Their eyes are sunken. It just becomes an all-inclusive thing, which is difficult when you are talking to someone on the phone not knowing exactly what they look like. You also have your signs of micronutrient deficiencies. So, like, if you look in their mouth, they might have sores. Their tongue appears a certain color if they're, they're lacking certain nutrition. If their hair is falling out, that could be indicative of a protein deficiency.
Okay.
So there's a ton of, I could go on and on and on about.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really interesting though, because I think when we think of a dietitian and we think of nutritional status, I guess you would sit down with somebody and ask them, walk me through a typical day. What do you eat? What do you drink? And I don't think we think as much of, there's the obvious, somebody being very underweight or somebody being very overweight when you look at them. But all of these other things that you're talking about, I think are less obvious to those of us who are not in the field and are not really knowing what exactly are we looking for,
the body definitely gives you hints on what questions you should be asking.
Yeah.
If you notice that they're missing a lot of teeth or they're chipped or they're not great quality, that's when you might ask, are you able to chew meats fine?
Yes.
Does it help when you take your dentures out?
Yep.
Do you eat better when that happens? And then you know that their dentures probably don't fit well or are painful for them to wear. So
okay. Yeah.
it just helps to guide your questions, and not being able to see them makes it a little bit more challenging.
Okay. Now are you going into the rooms of the non-COVID folks?
Yes.
Okay, you are. So
we are, unless they're on any other kind of precautions that aren't COVID positive. So, like, for example, somebody that has like C. diff. That's an infection that you can get when you take. It's like a colitis that you can get.
Okay.
If you've been prescribed antibiotics, they are contact precautions. So you would have to go into the room with gown and gloves in order to preserve the PPE. Now we wouldn't go in that room.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. I think we'll stop there.
That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot. Yeah, it does. That makes a lot of sense. So for the folks who are not, who are more your sort of run of the mill, the kind of patients that you've worked with before, what's the tenor at the hospital? I mean, are people kind of, I think if I were in the hospital at this stage with something that was totally unrelated to COVID, I would be kind of nervous. Are you finding people sort of jumpy and nervous, or are people okay about it?
No, I think people are pretty much okay.
Good.
They're completely separated on an entirely different unit.
Yep.
So they don't even come in contact with any of those patients at all.
Okay.
So I haven't had any patients concerned about contracting it or getting any kind of contact. No.
Good. Okay. Good to hear. I know. All right. So I think what we're going to do is I want to take a little bit of a break here for the 7:30 break, even though it's only 7:28 at this point. But when we come back, Eliana, what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about those people who are, sheltering in place, those people who are quarantining, even though they may not have any symptoms, but maybe they've been exposed or they've been around someone. And I want to talk about food for them and, sort of how do they eat healthy foods when you're, sheltering in place, when you can only, maybe go to the grocery store, get groceries every couple of weeks or something like that. So I want to begin when we come back after this break to talk about maybe some strategies for how people can stay as healthy as possible nutritionally during the, as we all keep saying, these unprecedented times. So let's listen to our next song is by John Mellencamp. It Hurt So Good. And this is in honor of the birthday of George Marino, who was just a master music engineer. So we will be back.
When I was a young boy,
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:34. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and Pete Coles is in the studio with me. And on the telephone is Eliana Lakritz, our we like to think of her as our resident clinical dietitian with Bay State Noble Hospital. Good morning again, Eliana.
Good morning.
So one of the things that we're finding during this coronavirus piece is that as people have been instructed to shelter in place, and especially for those who are older, they're really being advised not to go out, and particularly not to go to places like the grocery store. So what we're finding is that a lot of the seniors that we're working with are either have someone else doing their shopping for them, or they're venturing out, but in either case, they're trying to do it maybe, like once every couple of weeks. Now, we have a lot of seniors that are coming through doing curbside meal pickup with us, which is really good because it's a regular full meal. So if they're doing that, 4 or 5 times a week, then, what they're telling us is it's really helping them to stay out of the store because they don't have to do a lot of cooking. But for those who are trying to cook, and I'm finding this myself because I too am really trying to stay out of the stores, In the old days, 2 months ago, I pretty much was at the Big Y like almost every day because I would just, go to work and it's right down the street. So on my way home, I'd stop and, pick up 10 items or, a dozen items or whatever. But now I'm really trying to consolidate it and be much more conscious of that. And I'm finding this a little challenging. So, Eliana, maybe you could help me as well as our listeners. Yeah. What are some of the things that I can kind of stock up on that I can use, over the course of a couple of weeks? I mean, obviously, I can get fresh produce on the days that I go, but that's not going to carry me for 2 weeks. But maybe, are there some frozen things I should be purchasing or some canned goods that I can use in some different recipes in terms of trying to get that balanced diet of, protein and carbohydrate and grain? So do you have some ideas for us, some tips?
Yes. So I would say probably the first thing that you're going to want to do, especially because a lot of people have more time than they might typically under normal circumstances, is to sit down and maybe just plan out a menu for the 2 weeks.
Okay.
The first few days, that's where you would want to include more of those fresh ingredients just so you can use them up. But I think by planning your meals for the next 14 days or so, really sit down and think about what you like and really narrowing down how many ingredients will actually be used for those recipes. That will enable you to make a list for when you go to the grocery store, what exactly you're going to need to buy. So, of course, you're going to want to start using more of your fresh ingredients within the first 7 days. Right. And then in the next 7 days, kind of transitioning over to more of your frozen produce, things like that. But generally speaking, stocking up on your shelf-stable foods is going to be important because they can be used for many different types of recipes. So, for example, for your starches, you might do like a brown rice, buying a thing of brown rice or quinoa or oats or even like some whole wheat pasta, so you still are able to maintain some healthy nutrition, but you don't have to worry about those types of foods going bad. For proteins, canned or dried beans and peas and lentils, so think more your garbanzo beans, your kidney beans, your black beans, your pinto beans, and then your lentils. Those are going to last indefinitely in a can or dried.
Okay.
So they're very good protein sources. You don't have to worry about, if you buy chicken breast, it's going to go bad within a few days.
Yeah.
These are going to stay. Canned vegetables or frozen vegetables, of course, you don't have to worry about those going bad. So maybe those you would have on your list as your day 7 through 14 type of meals. Those are very easy to have in a stir fry or in some kind of, casserole or chili or soup. You can very easily use those.
Yep.
The fresh produce certainly do buy, but keep those in like the day 1 to 7 range.
Right.
Nuts and seeds and nut butters, those are going to be more of your shelf-stable. Canned fruit, dried fruit, 100% fruit juice are going to last a little bit longer than your regular fresh produce like bananas. They're going to go bad within a few days.
Right, yeah. Okay.
What you could do for bananas is just chop them up and freeze them. And then if you want to defrost them and put them in yogurt or something, they'll last longer that way.
So when you, okay, so Eliane, I'm over here making, those of you who are watching on Channel 15, I'm writing all this down. Like I'm making a list because just going back, one of my concerns was the protein piece of it. I mean, you can get some meat and fish and obviously you can freeze that. I have to be honest and say the whole bean thing, I didn't even think of that. Like I'm thinking, okay, canned tuna fish, what do I have in the freezer or what meat can I buy or fish can I buy that I can put in the freezer? But the whole, beans and kidney beans and lentils, and I didn't even think, I don't think of those as protein. I think of those more as grain. So that was really helpful right out of the gate.
A lot of people think of them that way. And, people forget that you don't necessarily have to have a meat with every meal. It's actually very helpful to make more of your meals plant-based.
Yes.
So you can utilize those shelf-stable beans as your protein for a meal. Put them on a salad if you have that fresh produce. Put it in, a soup or something. You don't have to have a meat with every meal necessarily.
Yeah.
That's kind of our way of thinking.
The other thing, that's starting to happen now, and I've noticed that people are starting, because the weather has turned a little bit, so when it's in between the raindrops, but people are starting to grill out a little bit more for 2 reasons. One, because the weather is kind of lending itself. People are busy cleaning out their garages and their sheds and bringing out, putting away their snow blowers and getting out their grills. But the other thing is, I think that with social distancing, they can kind of spread out in the yard much easier than spreading out in the house. I've seen that across the street with my neighbors, and I noticed that on Sundays now. They will have, the kids over who are grown, and everybody spread out in the garage and the driveway where there's really a lot more space that they can do that, and nobody's really going into the house. So, I think that people are working really hard at their distancing, but I think that adding the grill piece of it adds a whole other dimension of some options for good nutrition. We decided on Easter Sunday, we have a very traditional brunch that we do because my family's Hungarian. This is not anything that I would normally tell a nutritionist, because as my husband said, this is like a cardiac event waiting to happen. It's like kielbasa and ham and like a sweet bread, like a challah or a babka, type of bread, and hard-boiled eggs. And Gary goes, "Oh my God!" But we only do it once a year. But the funny thing is when we were planning our menu for Easter weekend, I said to my family, "Well, what would you like to do for dinner?" And we've learned over the years that because the breakfast or the brunch is really pretty heavy and really high in, meats and fat and all that other stuff, it's like, well, let's go a little leaner and meaner for dinner. And we ended up doing I just kind of created this meal myself a few years ago, and it's gone over really well. So I just cut up a bunch of vegetables, fresh vegetables. So celery, carrots, broccoli, green pepper, zucchini, kind of like whatever you have or whatever's available in the grocery store. Yeah, and so I just chop them up and in good sized chunks, and then I marinate them in like an Italian dressing, like an Italian salad dressing. I think I did it in the morning. And then, just had them going all afternoon. And then and then you can put in any kind of protein. Like I usually do shrimp, and same thing. I just marinate that. And then, because I use shrimp that's already pre-cooked. So, it's really just a matter of, and then we do it on the grill. We have like a pan thing that we use. My husband does the vegetables separately, and we put fresh mushrooms in there. Kind of like whatever people like. I just say to my family, it's like, okay, what do you like? And you can use canned vegetables. I mean, it doesn't have to be fresh produce, but and really the grilling time is very short because you're really just heating everything through because you want to keep the vegetables kind of crisp, and then I just serve it over brown rice, and it's we add a few cashews or nuts if you have some nuts or pumpkin seeds or
protein.
Just some stuff to put on top, and then along with the shrimp or again you could use chicken, you could use leftover whatever you have, and it's really easy, and and you can kind of determine whatever the proportions are. So we go with a lot of vegetables and then just a little bit of protein, and then over the brown rice, and it was really yummy, and it's kind of a lighter meal so that it's just mostly rice and vegetables. So you didn't feel
that sounds like you made it work.
Yeah, we did, and it was really fun to say, hey, we got the grill, now we can go back to some of this other stuff. So don't be afraid to be creative. I guess that's my point on this one, because when I first started, it was loosely based on a recipe that I had seen somewhere, but over the years that I've made it, it's just this one doesn't like this and this one likes more of that, and so we add more of this, and it's kind of grown. And we've also added lots more vegetables than we used to, just lots of varieties. So you can be creative.
I mean, if you didn't have the Italian dressing, for example, I have a recipe for one that you can actually make with things you probably do already have.
Sure.
It goes well with pretty much anything. You could put it on a salad as a dressing. You could put it on your vegetable dish there. You could put it on a 3-bean salad.
Ooh,
if you had beans you wanted to dump into a bowl, you could do that with wax beans. But the dressing itself, all it is honey, Dijon mustard, olive oil, and lemon juice.
Oh my gosh, that sounds great. Could you
and
do
those
me
are things everyone has pretty much.
You know what? Can you do me a big favor, Eliane? I'm working on my May newsletter, and I'm trying to put some fun stuff in there. Can you email me that recipe, and I can put it in the May newsletter? Because that just sounds, you're right, that sounds like something, we all have that stuff in our house. I would love that. That would be great.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good. All right, on that note, it is 7:45. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We'll take our 7:45 break. This is Smooth by Santana, and this is in honor of my friend George Marino, master engineer.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, and advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:51. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and in the studio with me this morning is Pete Coles, and on our telephone line is Eliana Lakritz, clinical dietitian with Bay State Noble Hospital. Welcome again, Eliana.
Good morning.
Good morning. So we just have a few minutes left, but I wanted to go back to something that you started with when we talked about how best to plan some healthy meals for this pandemic, especially for people who are sheltering in place. And I think the very first thing that you said is probably the most important tip for people, and that is to sit down and plan a menu for a couple of weeks and create your shopping list from that menu. And I think the reason that it's so important on so many levels, and I am certainly finding this myself, is one, as you said, Eliana, that you want, if you want to prepare healthy meals, you have to plan ahead for that. The other thing is that, the whole shopping experience these days is very different than it was even a couple of months ago. So I know the store, I live in West Springfield, so the Stop and Shop in West Springfield a couple of weeks ago had taped arrows on the floor in the aisles so that you can only go down aisles one way. So it's really important to, take your time, and people seem to be taking their time a little bit, giving each other lots of space, but, to really find all the items that you need in the aisle. And I have found that having that very detailed shopping list is super helpful. I don't know if you're finding this the same for your own personal.
Yeah, definitely. And probably what would also be helpful in that way is once you have your items that you need to buy at the store, try and organize them by what section in the store they're in.
Yes.
And that just cuts on the amount of time that you're actually in there. You can be in and out much faster.
Yeah, you're right. I don't do. I mean, I kind of do it with my produce because I usually, in my head, I'm thinking of all the different things. It's a little bit more challenging for me. I shop at several different stores, so sometimes not every store puts things sort of in the same areas, but you're right. I think if you can kind of go with like canned vegetables or frozen vegetables or, things like that, if you have those organized in your list, you're right. It'll be faster as you're, not faster, but just more efficient, I think, as you're going up and down the aisle. So I think that shopping list is super important. And I have to tell you, it's interesting. Like I did this whole long shopping list and I didn't forget one item. I forgot to put one item on the list, and it didn't occur to me until I was on my way home. And then I thought, you know what? I got to come up with a different substitute because I'm not going back for that. So I was scrambling around for a different recipe. I thought, hey, worst case scenario, I guess I could borrow, one ingredient from a neighbor if I had to do that. But I think that's really important. And we just have 2 minutes left, Eliana. What about hydration? Anything that we should think about as we're sheltering in place with what we're drinking, not just what we're eating?
Definitely water. I mean, if you feel comfortable drinking tap water, that's one thing, but just making sure that you are staying hydrated, just to make sure that you're getting your body the fluids that it needs, keeping your mucous membranes moist. It's really great for that, which helps to maximize keeping all that bacteria out if possible. One of the less common, but with COVID, one of the minority of cases, one of the symptoms is like a mild gastroenteritis.
Okay.
So with diarrhea, if you're experiencing that, maybe a sports drink, something like that, just to get the electrolytes repleted. That's one of the risks with very severe diarrhea. So that's something to consider. But for everybody, just staying hydrated is super, super important. Even if you have a fever and you feel like you don't need it, that's when you need it more.
Absolutely. But you want to stay hydrated with healthy things, not, soda and high in calorie, things like that. So just to be really conscious of that.
That isn't really something that you should be prioritizing at the store.
Correct.
It's the sugary drink. No.
And you know what, Eliana, I wanted to ask you this, and this is just my last question, but how long, when you open up milk, like how long will milk stay in the refrigerator?
Well, you have to make sure that your refrigerator is staying cold, first of all, because if it's the temperature, it's not going to last as long as it normally would.
Okay.
First of all, storing it next to like the front of the shelf. Also, if you're opening your fridge a lot, it's not going to store as long.
Okay.
It has I think it's a sell-by date on it.
Yep.
Of course, you can drink it beyond the sell-by date, but not much longer than that.
Okay. All right. So if you open it, and it's once it's opened, you just want to make sure that you finished it by the sell-by date. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can drink it a little bit past that.
Okay.
That's sell-by, and you can leave the stores.
Okay.
That
that was one thing that I wasn't sure about, because I know some of the seniors have said, really, in some cases that's the item that they need, somebody to run out and get for them is milk. But a lot of their other stuff there. Yeah. So I just wasn't sure about that. So
I think off the top of my head, once it's past the date, once open, I think it lasts like 4 to 7 days.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, that's fair enough.
Like that.
Yeah.
But I definitely would also, encourage you to explore other more stable options, like evaporated milk or almond milk. A lot of times, soy milk will be shelf stable.
Okay.
If you buy it in the pantry aisles.
Okay. Good to know. Well, Eliana Lakritz, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know this is your day off, so I really appreciate you calling in and just giving us some tips, because I think these were really helpful. I wrote a lot of things down. You're going to send me that recipe for the dressing so I can put that into my May newsletter. Maybe we'll do a little nutritional corner in the newsletter this month. And I wish you the best of luck with everything with the wedding planning. We'll see how that all shakes out, and you'll have to report back to us next month.
Oh, I will.
Okay, very good. Stay safe, stay healthy,
You as well.
stay physically
Thank you.
distant but socially connected. How's that?
I like it.
All right, very good. I'm signing off, and I have Brown Bag to prepared for, so I will see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.